Good morning all, myself Veena Mayya, Faculty Department of Information and Communication Technology, MIT Manipal. I warmly welcome you all to today's event, a guest talk organized by the Department of Information and Communication Technology, MIT Manipal. The guest speaker for the day is Mr. Abhishek Rhisheekesan, founder and CEO, aiRender Technology Pvt Ltd. I would like to welcome the students, research scholars, faculty members, and other participants to this event. The title of the talk is Customer Discovery and the Roadmap to Product Market Fit. Let me provide a brief introduction to our guest speaker, Abhishek Rhisheekesan. He is a founder and CEO at aiRender Technology Pvt Ltd. Mr. Abhishek has worked as engineering manager in graphics architecture labs at Intel. He was one of the recipients of the second highest technical awards at Intel for his contribution to 3D graphics performance analysis. He holds a MS degree in computer science from Arizona University and was awarded Outstanding Graduating MS Student in Computer Science. He holds 3 US patents in 3D graphics architecture and 4 ASIAM IEEE publications. With this brief introduction, I present before you today's guest speaker, Mr. Abhishek. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot to respected HODs of the different departments at MIT, the faculty at MIT, and the academic fraternity at MIT Manipal. Special thanks to Professor Veena ma'am, Professor Smitha ma'am, and all the students for attending this talk of mine. Thanks, ma'am, for a great introduction. Before we just get started, here is the website of our startup, aiRender. The website is given over here, aiRender.co.in, and there is the web link for our video conferencing web application as well, and the link to our YouTube channel. Please check out these links, and if you like it, please do add your comments there. So today we are going to talk about what's customer discovery, how you can achieve problem solution fit using the customer discovery process, and how it leads to product market fit eventually. Now, before starting the journey of customer discovery, let's try to see the broader picture. Customer discovery is just one of the steps involved in a broader process to build a successful startup called customer development. Now, first of all, what's a startup? It's important to recognize that a startup is not a smaller version of a big company. Rather, it is a temporary organization built to search for a repeatable and a scalable business model. Now, customer development is the process to organize that sort of a search. This is coming from one of the pioneers of the customer development model, Steve Blank, as described in his book, The Startup Owner's Manual. And he busted a lot of myths about entrepreneurship as he went through the 4 steps to the epiphany, the first book that he wrote after reflecting on his entrepreneurial journey after retirement, after founding or working at 9 different startups. I would say both the books are must reads for an entrepreneur. Now, let's see what are the 4 pillars of customer development. The first one is customer discovery. Then there is customer validation, customer creation, and company building. Customer discovery first captures the founder's vision and turns it into a series of business model hypotheses. Then it develops a plan to test customer reactions to those hypotheses and turn them into facts. Well, we'll discuss this in a detail, more detail in a short while. Now, customer validation tests whether the resulting business model is repeatable and scalable. If not, you return back to customer discovery. Customer creation is the start of execution. It builds end user demand and drives it into the sales channel to scale the business. Now, company building, the final step in the customer development model, transitions the organization from a startup to a company focused on executing a validated model. Now, the foundation of the customer development model lies in this simple advice: get out of the building. Nothing, pretty much no information related to potential customers, what they want, what issues they currently face, what solutions are they seeking in general, nothing related to customer development is kept inside the four walls of the building where you reside or where you work. You have to go out and talk to real potential customers to gather the data and work on it in an iterative manner through your journey through the four pillars of the customer development model. Now, the first baby step in the customer development model is customer discovery. It involves stating your hypothesis, testing the problem at hand, testing potential solutions, and either pivoting or proceeding from that point. We'll go through these steps in more detail in the coming foils. Now, what are hypotheses? It's just a sophisticated name for guesses. Any startup journey starts with a mere set of guesses, some of them being a little bit educated guesses. Let's say if you are trying to build a video conferencing product, you may start with the guess that, okay, number one, let's say video conferencing is essential for success of a company in some XYZ business vertical, say banking or a multinational IT company. And then you try to validate or invalidate this hypothesis. Typically, try to avoid universal truths or eternal truths while making a hypothesis, since the purpose of forming these hypotheses are to test and validate them and to aid in the process of customer discovery. To succeed, founders need to turn these hypotheses or guesses into facts as soon as possible by getting out of the building, asking customers if the hypotheses that we made were correct, and quickly changing those that were wrong. Now, let's see a few examples of hypotheses that I formed during my stint at customer discovery at my startup aiRender. Now, the first hypothesis that we came up with was productivity while working from home can be greater than in-office productivity if communication and collaboration tools can be improved. The second hypothesis goes something like this. The video conferencing and collaboration tools have a major role to play in the coordination of work. The third one is video conferencing tools are used extensively to network with clients, vendors, investors, and at company events. Now, the fourth one that we came up with was companies are thinking about partial work from home model through and post pandemic. Video conferencing and collaboration tools have a major role to play in restoring productivity back to normalcy during and post pandemic. Now let's get to a poll survey. Which one out of the below two hypotheses is a good hypothesis? The first one goes something like this: the training and setup time required to familiarize and bring up to speed the employees and in an IT enterprise on video conferencing tools cannot be ignored. The initial adoption of new conferencing tools is quite hard for most of the employees, and hence professional training might need to be imparted to the IT departments on these video conferencing tools by the vendors who are providing these set of tools, or directly to the employees, and in order to facilitate easier adoption of such video conferencing tools. And the second one goes something like this: video conferencing solutions are a major boon for IT enterprises prior to and during pandemic. Prof. Veena ma'am, can you please share the poll survey? Folks, can you please vote on one of the hypotheses? Which one below look like a better hypothesis for you? All right, I think we have received all the responses, right, ma'am?
Yes, 29.
Yeah. Okay, so out of the 29 responses that we received, I see option 1. People have opted for 16 set of folks have opted for option 1, and sorry, it's 30 now. Yeah, so 17 set of folks have opted for option 1 and 13 for option 2. So yeah, the right answer is option 1 here. Option 2 is quite a generic one, and it's more like an eternal truth, right? You could say it's typically, I mean, video conference solutions are quite widely used by IT enterprises prior to and during pandemic. So that sort of a guess is not really, I mean, the sort of guesses which are eternal truths, right? They're not going to give us much value add, even if we try to validate or invalidate them. As through the hypothesis, we are trying to ensure we are trying to validate a certain set of guesses that we have and ensure, okay, is that really true or is that false, right? But the second one is more like a what do you say? It's like a universal truth, and there's not much value add in validating or invalidating it. In customer discovery, we are trying to find a problem solution fit, meaning you define the problem that you're trying to address and how you are going to address it. For example, the problem that we are trying to address at aiRender is to bridge the gap between regular 2D video conferencing and real life face-to-face interactions in terms of conveying visual social cues like hand gestures, body language, facial expressions, etc. Now, the solution fit that we have proposed or hypothesized is 3D video conferencing with live streaming projections of meeting participants in thin air, which we are trying to validate through customer discovery. Now, I'm going to talk about 3D video conferencing in a short while, so please hold your questions till then. We have a prototype of 3D video conferencing, or MVP as it is called, which stands for minimum viable product. We'll showcase that in a short while. Through a customer discovery process, we will be building MVPs and iterating over it, and we'll be continuously seeking feedback from potential customers through customer discovery and the next step in customer development model called customer validation. In customer discovery, we have to talk to different potential customer archetypes like decision makers, end users, influencers, recommenders, economic buyers, and saboteurs among potential customers. We'll see these archetypes in detail in the next slide. Now, here is my experience with customer discovery process. I have talked to close to 100 industry stalwarts and leaders. These are founders, CEOs, CXOs, VPs, directors, senior managers, and employees, and they map to different archetypes that we saw in the last slide. These folks are from multiple industry verticals like IT, healthcare, travel, education, banking, computer hardware and software vendors, e-commerce, FMCGs, social media, telecom, hospitality, banking, consulting, media entertainment and gaming, aviation, real estate, retail chains, etc. To name a few. There are large-scale enterprises, medium-scale enterprises, and growth-stage startups in the mix. Now, we captured certain trends based on their feedbacks through this customer discovery process, and some of our hypotheses were validated and some invalidated. After talking to 40 odd such people on hypotheses related to video conferencing in general, We switched gears to dig deeper on the trends that we captured and identified certain categories of customers who we think are potentially a better fit for the problem we are trying to solve. And in essence, we reached a problem solution fit to some extent. Now, remember, this is an iterative process, and sometimes you may have to revisit the customer discovery again. As some of your hypothesis goes invalidated and some gets validated. Now, here is another poll. What's the first step in the customer development model? The options are customer discovery, customer validation, customer creation, and company building. I think we have received 34 responses so far. Out of that, okay, that gets to 35. Out of that, 32 responses point to customer discovery. Yes, that's right. Customer discovery is the first step in the customer development model. Although that's the first step, I want to emphasize the fact that you have to, you may have to still go through, let's say, I mean, you get to customer validation, customer creation, and sometimes a pivot or proceed sort of a decision might have to be taken, and you might have to return to customer discovery process again. So this is sort of an iterative process until you develop a sustainable and repeatable business model and get to the final stage of company creation and get to run as quite a successful company. Until then, we go through these steps in an iterative manner. All right, now here are some of the tools that we use to aid in the customer discovery process. The first one is BMC or business model canvas. To start with, we fill up these 9 boxes in the BMC chart with our guesses or hypothesis of number 1, value propositions. What value is your proposed solution or product trying to offer? The second one is customer segments. Which customer segments are you targeting? Then there are channels. How do you plan to reach out to your customers? And then the key partners. Who are your key partners, or whom do you form joint ventures or collaborations with in order to transform your solutions into products or to sell them? Key activities. What kind of engineering, marketing, or sales activities are you undertaking in order to make and sell your product? Then there is a cost structure. What sort of costs are involved in building, marketing, and selling your product? And finally, there are revenue streams. Through what streams are you expecting your revenue? Or in other words, how do you plan to generate and collect your revenue? These 4 boxes on the top right and middle section are mapped to desirability. The ones in reddish orange color. Do customers really want such sort of a product? Now, the 2 boxes at the bottom cover viability. What's your product or the solution worth? The 3 boxes on the top left are indicators of feasibility. Can we deliver this product? Well, too much of theory on BMC. Let's get to a real life example of a BMC. I'm sure all of you would be excited to see that in action. Let's pick up a case study of the BMC that Uber founders proposed during their initial days of customer discovery as an illustration. There are 2 customer segments for Uber, which is basically an app which connects passengers and cab drivers. Their key value propositions are taxi on demand, easy to order cab and short wait time for passengers, and for and passengers on demand and easy to make additional money for cab drivers. As demand of passengers starts to exceed available capacity of cabs, surge pricing can be used as additional revenue stream for cab drivers on top of the pay per ride charges. Uber's customer relationships are entirely automated by its app platform, as most of you know. Some of the channels used by Uber to reach out to more customers in more cities are its own mobile app and by word of mouth from existing customers. 3 key resources used by Uber are 1. It's app which connects Uber to drivers and passengers and both to each other. 2, it's pricing algorithms that are used to balance supply and demand in the market. And finally, it's routing algorithms which focus on ensuring that the customer wait time is as short as possible. Now, Uber's key activities include developing their app platform to ensure user adoption and retention, as well as optimizing its pricing and routing algorithms. And significant marketing on a global and a local level to promote driver and passenger adoption and ensure an adequate supply of drivers. Now, key partners of Uber are the drivers who own all their cars. Number 2, the payment processors. 3, the map data providers, and finally the local authorities to ensure Uber abides by all pertinent local laws. The cost structure for Uber involves the cost for its app platform development, the salaries for the software engineers, the sales and marketing teams, and the country and city managers, and finally the driver payments. Now, the BMC goes through several iterations from launch of startup through customer discovery process and other steps of customer development until your company or the startup really takes off and establishes a sustainable, repeatable, and scalable business model. Sometimes the BMC goes through pivots or take major changes in terms of directions based on whether some of your major hypotheses get invalidated or not. Now, here is a breakout session. We will form different teams and basically either as teams or individually you can answer and fill up the blocks out here in the BMC. Here is the BMC sample that's given. Basically, you have to create a BMC for employees in a growth stage, IT or a tech enterprise as your customer segment. Assume some of your value propositions are high resolution live streaming, 3D video conferencing in thin air, wherever they are. Now, can you try to fill up the rest of the blocks in the BMC?
Okay, I see there are key partners, IT services and IT services vendors, and key activities as algorithm development, apps, technical activities, etc. Revenue streams have been given as subscription model and sorry, what is the next one? Can you please scroll up? Usage of latest tech and innovation and make use of less subscription device. Key partners have been given as AR/VR service providing companies, cost structure as device development engineers. Sorry, can you scroll down, ma'am? I can't see that portion. Okay, advertising, patent acquiring cost, and revenue as devices. Yes, I think these are pretty good responses. The key partners wherein it has been given as AR/VR service providing companies, right? They could provide these sort of AR/VR headsets, and we, as a startup, we are kind of providing the 3D video conferencing software solution, which could be applied onto this, which could be installed onto this AR/VR headsets, and customers could utilize such a platform in order to showcase the 3D projections of the meeting participants in a live streaming mode into thin air. Now comes another major tool that we use for customer discovery, which is value proposition canvas or VPC. For each customer archetypes or customer segments that we are trying to address, we try to form the stuff mentioned on the right side of the VPC. That's the hypothesis of your potential customers, like let's say their jobs, which consists of their major priorities, deliverables, responsibilities, etc., to achieve their job goals.
Then there are pains, which are the issues or the pains faced by these potential customers in achieving these job goals or priorities. And then there are gains. What kind of gains are they looking for while getting their jobs done or in achieving their goals and priorities at their job? Now, then we map these customer jobs, pains and gains to the stuff that you see on the left side of the VPC, like the products and services you are planning to offer and their value propositions in terms of whether these products and services are pain relievers or gain creators. Now, enough of theory on VPC. Let's dive into the example of Uber passengers. For Uber passengers, as shown on the right side of the VPC, their jobs or priorities are on-demand availability of cabs and variety of cab services like, let's say, sharing a ride with someone or getting an SUV for an intercity trip versus, let's say, an Innova for an airport ride or versus an Indica for a trip from your home to office. Now, their usual pains are processing time taken to book a cab, make the payment, giving directions to the cab driver, or the high costs involved in a cab journey, or the security going for a cab ride at night, for example. Their gains that they seek are faster cab service, availability of cabs at any time, etc. On the left side of the VPC, Uber's products and services include on-demand cabs, efficient rides, one-tap ride using their app, or rideshare facilities. Their app's pain relievers are cheaper rides, cashless transactions, hassle-free processing of payment, and reliability of cab rides for the passenger. Now, Uber's gain creators are shorter wait times for catching a cab, lower prices than usual taxis, and on-demand availability, cab availability. Now, from customer discovery, we move on to the next step in customer development model, which is customer validation. Here, we form the product market fit. This involves getting ready to sell, selling to early evangelists, developing the positioning for your product, and pivoting or proceeding. Here, we are taking the inputs from the customer discovery process and trying to validate it by, let's say, first getting ready to sell by preparing the necessary sales material, by building a high fidelity MVP, which is a sort of a fine-tuned version of your MVP outcome from the customer discovery stage, and by trying to do early stages of the high fidelity MVP of your product to early evangelists or early adopters. In this process, we develop the positioning of the product by gathering further data from these early adopters or validate your business model, your financial model, and then decide whether to pivot or proceed to the next step of customer development model. Now, we'll talk more about these steps in a future session once I go through these cycles. Currently, our 3D video conferencing MVP is already out of the customer discovery process, and we are threading through customer validation by achieving some early sales to early adopters or early evangelists. Early evangelists are happy to pay for early access to our product, and they are willing to take a bet on our product, even while it's at its nascent stage. They are exploring the functionalities and using our product extensively and providing feedback to us based on which we are fixing issues in our product, taking it back to these same set of early adopters for further feedback. As like I said, it's an iterative process. And these early adopters are spreading the word to our other potential customers. Now, let's talk about entrepreneurship and my journey so far, taking a plunge into it. As an entrepreneur, we should always start with why. Why do you want to do this? It should be clear in your head, and you should be able to convey it in a clear and lucid manner, be it to your customers, investors, employees, and in your outreach programs. Then comes what and how. What product are you building? How do you plan to build it, right? I'll talk more about the why, what, and how of the our startup aiRender in the following set of files. Now, let's get into the why of aiRender and my motivation behind starting it. Let's imagine a world where you can see the person you are talking to in your room, in thin air, wherever they are. While working at my previous company, in my video conference meetings with counterparts in other geographies, I felt a general lack of trust. Once we travel and meet these same counterparts, the level of trust builds up in a phenomenal manner and they start working with you quite seamlessly. For example, think about Professor Veena taking classes for you in thin air in your drawing room as a walking live 3D projection in a streaming manner, as in almost like a one-to-one tutoring process. Or if you can interact with your batchmates on a project with the project model in front of you along with your batchmates as live 3D projections, let's say in your courtyard or maybe in your study room. Now, 2D video conferencing is not an effective replacement for in-person meetings. More than half the message interpretation is from body language, facial expressions, and hand gestures as per a lot of studies. Now, 2D video conferencing is not to reduce these visual social cues. aiRender is building an AI-based real-time live streaming in thin air 3D video conferencing solution, high 3D meeting for greater reality. Now, let's see a demo for a work from home sort of scenario. Okay, so here is the secret sauce behind our product. 2D videos, as you can see on the left, are captured using cameras associated with, let's say, devices like mobile phone, laptops, or AR/VR headsets. These 2D image frames in these captured 2D video streams are converted on a real-time basis to lifelike 3D graphics models using our AI engine that's shown in the middle called AirBrain, which is sitting on the cloud. Now, the 3D graphic streams of video conferencing participants, the resultant 3D graphic streams, these are displayed into thin air using holographic displays or similar displays, let's say on AR/VR headsets. Existing technologies in this area cannot be easily adapted to holographic displays, other OSs or hardware, and is quite expensive. Our solution overcomes all these deficiencies, and our 3D compression technologies make it possible even in today's mobile data and broadband networks. Our product also will benefit from tailwinds like mass adoption of 5G and Wi-Fi 6 and 7 technologies in the coming years, with better network bandwidth for transferring compressed 3D models. Now, as you saw in the demo earlier, the participant at home can wear VR headsets or use integrated 3D holographic projectors on laptops to view live streaming 3D projection of the presenter at office, or the work from home participants can be shown in office conference room using 3D holographic projectors. Now, you can see some of the 3D applications in action here, like telemedicine, for example, which is the consultation of doctors and patients. There is online tutoring and online classes, which you guys are quite familiar with. Then you can do sales presentations in 3D, and also, folks can take interviews. Now, to provide a sneak peek into how much we have progressed so far, we have a web-based high 3D meeting video conferencing app ready, as you can see on the left, showing my 2D video and the corresponding 3D, the reconstructed 3D video during the video conferencing call. The underlying AI engine AirBrain is also ready, as shown here in the middle on the top, converting my teammates' 2D video to corresponding 3D video stream. As shown in the video below, we have launched high 2D video conferencing app, which is a precursor to the 3D meeting launch. We have internship profiles for the following 4 profiles. First profile is on business development, where you get a first-hand experience in marketing, sales, finance, and operations, market analysis, and competitive analysis. Second profile is on neural networks and machine learning in general, where
you do the 2D to 3D reconstruction of human faces, human body, and the surroundings. The third one is on 3D graphics rendering using game engines like, let's say, Unreal Engine and WebGL framework to enable 3D rendering of the 2D to 3D reconstructed videos of human faces. And the fourth one is on full stack mobile and app development for video conferencing app. Now the business development intern will get a first-hand experience in marketing, sales, market analysis, competitive analysis, in preparing investor pitches and customer pitches, in projecting the company related financial requirements for investor pitches, in driving the social media campaigns and outreach programs for the startup as well. The internship candidate for the 2D to 3D face reconstruction using machine learning algorithms and all will be working on the algorithms to improve the quality of human face, let's say using CNN, GAN, and sort of similar neural networks and associated loss functions, 3D specific loss functions, and the reconstruction capabilities for the, let's say, to show the back side of the human face, front side of the human face, certain other details like teeth, ears, human body, etc., and to improve the speed of inference and training as well. Now the 3D graphics rendering intern candidate will be working on developing a 3D engine to render the human face real time using Unreal Game Engine and WebGL based JavaScript APIs from 2D to 3D reconstructed videos of human faces obtained from our video conferencing app and their brain 2D to 3D machine learning engine. The mobile app and web development internship candidate will be working on full stack development of video conferencing apps, and I mean both web apps and the Android and iOS mobile apps and the Windows desktops apps using, let's say, React, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and an open source video audio communication framework called WebRTC, which is based on C and JavaScript. Now, here are our contact details, website, and the Hi Video Conferencing web app link. Please sign up and give it a try. Also, there are these 3D graphics related tutorials and some of our teasers on the YouTube. Please check it out. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you all. Now we can open the floor for questions from the audience.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your knowledge and presenting this great pride of your team. I'm sure all the participants are benefited by the valuable information provided by you, sir. I thank each one of you for your active participation in this event. Last but not the least, I want to thank our HOD, Dr. Smitha Pai, for organizing and arranging and organizing this event. Thank you, Anand.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek sir, for the nice session that was presented from your side. We had participants from management side also, so it was a nice experience. There was a blend of both the faculty and students. I think most of them enjoyed your session. Thank you so much for the session, Abhishek sir.
Thank you, Professor Smitha and Professor Veena. It was all my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Veena, for all the organization.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have one question. Could I ask?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek, for this session. It was a great session. Like when we say product market fit, so when we will be presenting our pitch deck, and we come to this slide, product market fit. So like, what is the value that we need to show? Like, our product market fit is a person who is in the age group of 25 to 30 and residing in some location, or we need to present something else?
The more specific you can get, like you mentioned, 25 to 30 or whatever, and whoever exactly are the target audience of your product, right? That's the better essentially. And basically, see, currently we have gone through, as I mentioned, like mainly the first step, right, which is the customer discovery, and we are currently treading through the second step, which is customer validation. The product fit comes in only after you go through a couple more steps essentially and get to that stage. But having said that, in the first step, as you see from the customer discovery sessions, right, what we are trying to reach is some sort of a problem solution fit, as in like you define the problem that you are trying to solve, right, and you go out and validate the guesses or the hypothesis that you have, and through that we try to gather the feedback from the customer discovery sessions from these set of your most likely your potential customers, right, and that forms that gives you a clear idea where, okay, you form these hypotheses. Are you heading in the right direction? Are you the solutions that, I mean, you are not going to present the set of features of your product in this. You are trying to see what actually customer wants, what are their pain points, what sort of gains they're seeking, right? And based on that, you basically give shape to your idea and you come with a potential solution. Now, as you go through the customer validation process, you try to validate this same solution and the solution that you formed for the problem that you identified, the pain points that you identified. Now, through that, you will get a fair idea, like when you try to form the MVP and you try to sell it to your early evangelist or early adopter customers, you get a fair idea. Okay, I did come up with these n set of features for this particular product. Do they really like it, right? What sort of matrices are important for these customers, right? Okay, for example, if it's an app for that matter, like a video conferencing app, right? How many of them are signing up for that app? How many of them are downloading that app? How many of them are using it repeatedly, right? Are some of them just downloading it, viewing it, and after that switching to another app, right? How many of them, how much time are they spending on this particular app, right? Is it actually being a video conferencing app for the sort of pain points and gains that we identified in the customer discovery session from these potential customers? Are these features or the product or the services or the features that you introduced in the video conferencing app, are they addressing those pain points? Are they giving those sort of gains? Is it, I mean, typically a startup, right? The solution that it provides, it needs to be at least sort of 10x better than the status quo. Otherwise, I mean, incremental changes and all, yes, they do sell, but I mean, people generally switch to a different application or start using a new application when they see a wow factor and when they see at least one dimension or one, I mean, like a 10x sort of an improvement over whatever set of tools they are currently using, right? So with that, we reach, once we start getting the sort of revenue that we expect for that sort of a device, and once we get the sort of popularity and it becomes like almost like a daily usage tool for them, it's part and parcel of their life, right? That we get to sort of a product market fit, and then we start scaling through the customer creation process and get to a form a repeatable and a sustainable and a scalable business model, and then you get to the company building step, right? That's where you can say you have reached sort of a product market fit, right? Through these processes. Like I said, I'm only gone through the first and maybe still going through the second step. As we get to let's say the third and fourth, I would be able to give more pertinent examples from my own experience.
Thank you for this information. Just one more point. Say in this example of video conferencing app, if we are pitching to someone and you come on the page of on the slide of product market fit. So will you explain them like these are the problems and this is my solution, or will you tell this is the demographics which are ready to take the solution?
Well, it's okay. It's dependent upon the sort of solution that we are trying to introduce, right? Now, yes, we typically explain what's the problem that we are trying to solve. What is the solution that you are introducing to address that problem? In that, when you are presenting, if you have some, let's say, exact pain points expressed by the folks in those customer discovery sessions, it gives what do you say, a sort of tangibility and let's say credibility to what the pain point, that okay, this is actually a real pain point for immense amount of or a significant amount of potential customers, right? In that you can also show certain demographics. Okay, how many folks did you talk to, right? Who are these set of folks? In that let's say how much percentage of them express that as a real pain point, right? And like I said, in the customer discovery process, we go through like a hierarchical set of customer discovery sessions. Initially, it's a little bit more generic in terms of the hypothesis that we formed. Like we conducted these sessions with folks from different industry verticals. But then we got into, once we got the initial set of responses, we identified certain niche category of folks who have have this pain point that they expressed in terms of the jobs, responsibilities, and the roles that they and in terms of the responsibilities that they have on a daily basis, right? They expressed these are acute pain points. In fact, because of the lack of certain specific a set of tools or features to, or let's say, some sort of a platform to address some of these acute pain points. There were extremes like there were one of the as one of the customer discovery folks in the customer discovery session expressed, they were having a lot of attrition. Not just during the pandemic, even prior to pandemic. So that clearly indicates that, okay, there is a real pain point. And in fact, they were trying many alternatives to see how they can address that pain point, and still they were having that pain point. So that's where if you introduce an idea and showcase, okay, all these set of folks express this as an acute pain point. Out of these, so many people have so and so problems, right? In that, you elaborate on that particular problem, and here is the solution that we are proposing, and we introduce to these set of early evangelists or early adopters, and this is the sort of traction that we are seeing, right? In terms of the matrices that I was talking about earlier, you show all these demographics along with the problem and the solution and all that. That probably forms a great pitch, in my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Yes, madam. Abhishek sir, it is like your idea of making this solution is really great, sir. But I want to know one thing, sir. Is this thin air laser projector, is it available in market, or is it something which is futuristic, sir?
Okay, so we have, like I mentioned, let me show. This is the regular video conferencing application, which is one of the ingredients of our final product. Okay, this looks almost like your Google Meet kind of application, and we also have an app, mobile and Android and iOS app, as well as the web browser version, right? This is already in the market, and you can access it from this particular link. Now we almost have a prototype or a demo ready for the 3D video conferencing meeting, wherein you can, as you can see here, right, there is a, this is a snapshot of the video taken during the meeting. On the right, you see the 2D video of mine, and on the left you see the corresponding 3D video. Yeah. This is in the like the MVP stage, and we are trying to introduce it to the same set of potential customers that we talked to during the customer discovery session, gather their feedback, fix all the bugs, and then we will try to introduce it into the market. This is the software part of it. We are also talking to some of the physics and optics professors and the couple of electronics professors. And we are working on a 3D holographic projector, which can project the 3D projection of this meeting participant, as you see here, into thin air without any headset like AR VR glasses or something. At the same time, we are also trying the solution on a VR headset in order to see how it looks like in that environment, and then further we will be introducing that to the market. But yeah, as to answer your question, right? Basically, the 2D version is ready and it's available in the market. The 3D version is in the prototype stage and will be released pretty soon. Thanks, Professor Veena ma'am for coordinating the session, and Professor Smitha for facilitating the talk. And thanks for HODs of the department, faculty of MIT, and all students for attending the talk. It was my pleasure to talk about this wonderful topic to this wonderful audience.